ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another Football Manager 23 experiment, where today we're taking a look at what would happen if Crystal Palace were in the Spanish League. Now, why are we looking at that? Well, it's because I saw a tweet. I don't quite know what this was under. I think it was the Xavi quote. But it said, if Crystal Palace joined Laliga, they'd be top 5, mate. And that's the reason it's poor. Barca and Madrid beat English teams every other team struggles. Maybe you could include Atletico. So what they're saying is Crystal Palace should easily get top 5. Do I think that's true? Not in the slightest. But it will be interesting to see how it works if Palace are able to achieve anything at this level in La Liga. And then we can just see how it goes. So like I said, we've moved them over. They are the same team. They're the exact same at Selhurst in London, but just in Spanish League. So there's no sort of changes on that front. And they'll be taking on every team as every other team does. So let's kind of jump ahead and see how they get on. What can Patrick Vieira do with the Palace team in Spain? So here we are then, end of the first season, and they're sitting in 13th. So not quite 5th spot, which was previously thought of. I can't see any of their players fighting for top goals, average ratings, that sort of thing. See if we can run through. So the top goal scorer for them was Odsonne Edouard with 12. So quite really down the list in 13th. Expected goals, were they Odsonne Edouard was up there with 12.53 expected goals, which is probably what you'd hope they'd get. Let's take a look through. Can we see if we've got the assists as well? Or team goals is probably a good one to take a look at. Yeah, that makes no difference whatsoever. Let's have a look at the Palace team, though. How did they get on in the competition? So we know they finished in 13th. It's actually Carlos Corberán who's now in charge of them. So Patrick Vieira must have been sacked. It looks like, yeah, sacked after a year and 279 days in the role. And he's recently came in 52 days ago. So not the perfect outcome as to what was said previously. Transfer wise, is there any big new transfers that we wouldn't have seen? There's a couple in there. Paul Akunoku is probably one that has just come in. You got Gagliardini, centre midfielder. Kike from Valladolid. And Tony Leto from Valencia, but not much money being spent there. And then, of course, the likes of Eze going off to Newcastle. Obviously, he didn't fancy playing in the Spanish League, so he went off and now is with Newcastle. Interesting. But with that, let's take a look at the schedule. How has things gone? Oh, not great. Drawing to Vigo, losing to Cadiz, Sevilla, Valencia, Athletic Bilbao. They did manage to get a win against Madrid, though, with John Philippe Mateta getting a goal in the 90th minute. I mean, that's quite the result in the end there. Then you've got the likes of Atletico Madrid beating them, unfortunately. Mallorca getting a draw. They took on, in the Copa del Rey first round, they managed to get to the third round where they got beat by Real Madrid. And they went on a huge run of poor form, only getting one win in there against Almeria, otherwise not scoring many either. So that's not good at all. But they did pick things up later on. Maybe that's when the manager came in, and hopefully things have started to turn around for them, along with a draw against Barcelona. 1-1 there. So let's jump ahead again. See if there is anything else that happens. If there do start to rise up the leagues once they get used to the division, and see how it goes. So there are improvements. We're another year on, 2024, and they are 9th. Not quite able to get into the Europa League or UEFA League or whatever European competition there will be. But they did get 9th, 1 point off of Sevilla, who are sitting in 8th. But still not quite in the top 5. Don't think that's happening. But looking at the team, how have they done there? 16 goals for Odsonne Edouard as top goal scorer. Joachim Andersen with 89 best pass completion. So all that's still going strong. Let's take a look at the schedule. Oh, actually, is it still? Yeah, Carlos Corberán still in charge. Obviously did a lot better this time round. Although saying that, things haven't looked great. We can see here that in the end, there's no real results that have showed any different. a poor start to the season with losses to Cadiz, Villarreal, Bilbao and Barcelona, who'd probably expect not to be winning against. But going on, there are a few more wins as we reach into January, and they do pick up a couple every now and then, losing to the likes of Barca 3-1. Did get to the Copa del Rey 4th round this time, which I think is actually one further than they did last time. This time losing out to Valencia 3-1. But otherwise, a limited competition, certainly. Losing to Real Madrid 3-0 later on in that year. No real surprises, though, I don't think, unless you can spot any that I haven't been able to in there. So, again, not really surprising. It's kind of what we'd expect. Transfer history, though, is there any changes on that front? Abu Diallo coming in, Munier, Piakowski, and Pelayo all coming in. Not much money, though, being spent, which is worrying, certainly. Although I guess many Spanish teams would have that. Gagliardini's gone back to Atalanta for 6.25. Schlupp's gone to Sheffield United. Akuaku gone to Elche. O'Brien, Gaeta have all left, along with Cadogan. Malik Cadogan, wow, what a name. He's gone off as well with a few loans, including Luka Milivojevic, which is an interesting one to have loaned out. But there you go. We'll jump one more time, I think, because if they continue to rise, you never know. They might squeeze in there. But I'm not banking on the fact that they're going to get top 5. But there's only one way to find out, and that's by jumping ahead. So let's do that and take a look. Here we are then, and they're back down in 13th. Unfortunately, they weren't able to carry on with their growth and have been knocked back down the table once again. They've kept on a hold of a few good players, though. Wilfried Zaha being one of them, has stuck around. Carlos Corberan is still the manager in charge, so that's an interesting one. Let's take a look at the transfers that they've made. Maybe that's why they haven't really made any. Jesse coming in, Hamer coming in as well from Coventry there. But otherwise, it's Arno Casas is the only player to have been brought in. Outgoings, Piatkowski, who comes in for a season, then goes. Raksaki, Nathan Ferguson, Akinwell, and Kaiki, again, another player that's only come in for a short time, have all left. Is that to do with registration issues? Maybe, but it doesn't look it. It looks like they've been able to register pretty much everyone they've wanted to. Teadam Ramola stepping up. He's a very good little player. But otherwise, limited. Let's take a look at the schedule. How did they get on in the league? Did they get further in any competitions? Lost on penalties to Valladolid 1-1 after full time. So that's a shame. Very limited in performance here. Again, one win in 3 months is not good. But that one win did come against Real Madrid. So read into that what you will as to how they've managed that. But there you go. A 2-0 loss to Barcelona's in there as well. But also got a 2-1 win. So they're able to compete with the better teams in the league. It's all the teams that are slightly lower down that are the ones that are causing issues for them. Which certainly is interesting. Maybe that's an English thing or a British thing where they like to be the underdogs in teams. And Palace, we know, have always done quite well against top teams in the division, in the league. But with that said, we'll leave it there. To answer the question and answer the little comment that was made on Twitter, you're wrong. There is no way on earth that Palace would just easily walk into the top 5 teams in Spain. And yes, absolutely, they would probably sit around mid-table similarly to the English divisions. To be fair, they probably do a bit better in England, which is maybe an indication that Spain's a little bit better than England. But there you go. We will leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know if there's any other sort of experiments you want to see, and I'll make sure to take a look, and I'll catch you in the next one.